Let's be honest, most men never see it coming. They think being nice or funny or smart is enough, and yet the moment they try to connect, she looks past them. You've felt it, haven't you? That cold indifference, that subtle brush-off, that almost invisible wall that makes you question yourself. And the truth is, it's not about you being ugly, broke, or unworthy. It's deeper than that. It's psychological, it's emotional, it's the way her mind is wired to filter men, and how most guys unknowingly disqualify themselves before they even open their mouths. Here's the reality. Women don't respond to effort alone. They don't care about endless texts, compliments, or waiting patiently while she drifts away. What actually grabs her attention and keeps it is status, confidence, unpredictability, and emotional clarity. Yes, it sounds harsh, but this is the brutal truth that 90% of men never learn. They are ignored not because they are weak, but because they are predictable. They are the same as every other man she has ever dismissed, and predictability kills desire faster than rejection ever could. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a room filled with 10 men. 5 are desperate, constantly chasing attention. 3 are average, trying to impress but lacking magnetic energy. And 2, they stand out without trying. They speak with confidence, move with purpose, and carry an unspoken authority. These 2 are the ones she remembers. The others fade into the background. And here's the kicker. The difference isn't money, looks, or connections. It's subtle. It's how they think, how they carry themselves, and how they make her feel. Emotional response is everything. She doesn't just want a man who exists. She wants one who excites, challenges, and makes her feel something visceral. Most men miss this because they are blind to female psychology. They assume logic drives attraction. It doesn't. Women are wired to respond to emotional cues first. Confidence, decisiveness, a spark of dominance mixed with subtle vulnerability. Show too much vulnerability too soon, and you become a comfort, not a desire. Show too much dominance without empathy, and you seem threatening, not magnetic. The balance is delicate, and 90% of men are completely off. And here's the part most guys never hear. Attraction is not negotiable. You can't negotiate her attention with words alone. You can't buy desire with gifts or patience. Desire is earned through presence, energy, and psychological impact. You have to make her feel your worth without declaring it. It's silent, invisible, and incredibly potent when done right. Right now, I want you to pause and reflect. How many times have you tried to get her attention in ways that didn't make her feel it? How many times have you been ignored even when you thought you were doing everything right? That's the starting point. Understanding why you're invisible is the first step to rewriting the rules, and it starts inside your mind, long before she notices anything else. Most men think attraction is something you can control. They believe if they just try harder, text more, or plan the perfect date, she will notice them. But here's the cold truth. Attraction isn't something you give. It's something you trigger. And the triggers are subconscious, invisible, and often counterintuitive. Women respond to subtle cues, not grand gestures. Your energy, your confidence, your ability to remain unshaken under uncertainty. All of these are signals she notices before she even speaks. Think about the last time a woman seemed intrigued by a man. Did she respond because he bragged about himself, or because he carried himself in a way that was rare, magnetic, and unpredictable? Exactly. Most men fail here because they over-explain, overanalyze, and overcommit. They act like a checklist. I need to be funny, thoughtful, charming, and emotionally available at all times. But desire doesn't work like a checklist. Desire works on instinct, on emotional resonance, on subtle dominance and curiosity. She is wired to detect who stands out, who is different from the crowd, and most men unknowingly blend in. Here's a psychological fact few men understand. Unpredictability creates intrigue. When a man is too predictable, she's safe, and safe is boring. When a man is emotionally consistent but behaviorally unpredictable in small, controlled ways, he becomes fascinating. She notices the contrasts: calm yet confident, attentive yet detached, challenging yet supportive. These contrasts create tension, and tension is the heartbeat of attraction. Without it, you are invisible. But there's more. Women are drawn to men who show clarity of purpose, not just in career or wealth, but in mindset and identity. When a man knows who he is, what he wants, and what he won't tolerate, it creates an unspoken magnetism. A woman senses boundaries, decisiveness, and self-respect. She responds instinctively. Most men, however, present uncertainty, chasing validation instead of creating emotional impact. They ask, "Do you like me?" instead of making her feel the answer. Then there's emotional depth. I'm not talking about oversharing your life story. Most men get this wrong. Emotional depth is subtle. The ability to evoke curiosity, the willingness to show controlled vulnerability, and the courage to remain composed under emotional shifts. It's the quiet power behind your presence that makes her lean in rather than dismiss. Combine that with confidence, unpredictability, and clarity, and suddenly, the invisible man becomes unforgettable. Now let me challenge you to reflect. How many times have you approached women trying to impress instead of creating tension, intrigue, and emotional response? How often have you revealed too much too soon, thinking it builds connection, when in reality it erodes attraction? Awareness is the first weapon you need. Once you understand the psychological triggers women respond to, you stop being ignored. You stop being just another option. You become a man who excites attention naturally, without pleading or overexerting. The harshest truth? Most men will never get this because it requires self-discipline, observation, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves. It's easier to stay invisible, to rationalize rejection, to blame luck or timing. But if you're listening right now and your heart is pounding because it resonates, then you're ready to step into a higher league, a world where women notice you not because you chase them, but because you make them feel something they can't ignore. Most men sabotage themselves without even realizing it. They think a smile, a joke, or a compliment will earn her attention, but the truth is far more subtle and far more brutal. Women notice patterns, not gestures. They feel energy, not words. And there are specific behaviors that instantly trigger disinterest, behaviors that 90% of men display every single day. First, let's talk desperation. Nothing kills attraction faster than neediness. When you constantly seek validation, when every text and every question is a silent plea for approval, she senses it. It's in your tone, in the timing of your messages, in the way you overcompensate for your insecurity. Desperation is like a magnet, but not for desire. It draws avoidance, boredom, and indifference. The moment you stop chasing, the moment you shift your energy inward, something remarkable happens. She notices, she leans in. Desire is awakened by absence and self-respect, not by persistent effort. Next, predictability. Most men are easy to read. They have routines, predictable responses, and obvious behaviors. She unconsciously scans for excitement, novelty, and challenge. When she sees none, her mind classifies you as safe, and safety is boring. The solution isn't to become reckless, it's to create controlled unpredictability. A slight twist in conversation, a confident pause, a playful challenge, these small but precise moves disrupt her pattern recognition. They make her pay attention. They make you memorable. Now let's discuss emotional availability. Ironically, too much too soon repels attraction. Oversharing your problems, fears, or longing in the first weeks creates comfort, not desire. Women want a man who is emotionally strong enough to carry presence, but subtle enough to spark curiosity. Emotional restraint isn't coldness, it's magnetic. It's the invisible signal that says, I am whole, I am capable, and I choose when to share my inner world. Another silent killer is inconsistency. Flaky behavior, mixed signals, hot and cold communication, these destroy trust and create confusion. Yet inconsistency combined with controlled intrigue can become a tool when you flip the narrative. Show reliability in values, clarity in purpose, but maintain subtle mystery in approach. It creates tension. it pulls her in. It transforms you from one of the crowd into someone she can't stop thinking about. And finally, lack of challenge. Women are subconsciously drawn to men who challenge them, not in confrontation, but in mindset and energy. When you are too accommodating, too eager to please, too quick to comply, she sees you as easy. Easy is invisible. The subtle art of challenge is to engage her mind, provoke emotion, and create a sense of dynamic push and pull. This doesn't mean being rude, it means being unpredictable in a controlled, confident, and fascinating way. Here's the truth most men never face. You are ignored because you are giving her exactly what she doesn't need: validation, predictability, and effort without impact. Flip the equation. Focus on energy over gestures, presence over words, mystery over clarity, challenge over compliance. These are not tricks, they are the underlying psychological rules women respond to instinctively. Pause and reflect for a moment. How many times have you unknowingly ticked all the ignored boxes? How many times have you tried harder and failed, not realizing the real issue is how you are perceived, not what you are doing? Understanding these behaviors is the first step. Mastering them is the difference between invisibility and magnetic presence, the difference between being ignored and being desired. Now let's talk about transformation. Not temporary tricks or manipulative tactics, but a fundamental shift in how you exist, move, and present yourself, because that's what women notice first, long before words are exchanged. The men who are ignored don't see the invisible patterns of attraction. They live in effort, approval, and routine. The men who command attention live in presence, energy, and psychological influence. And here's the secret: presence is learned, energy is cultivated, and influence is earned, not demanded. Start with your inner state. Every time you enter a room, a conversation, or a moment with a woman, you send signals she subconsciously reads. Confidence is invisible, yet it radiates through posture, tone, and eye contact. A man who is grounded, calm, and aware projects a magnetic authority without saying a word. She doesn't need you to tell her you're confident. She feels it. The most overlooked step by men is developing this internal state first. Work on yourself, your purpose, and your clarity. Desire follows naturally when your inner world is undeniable. Next, refine your approach to communication. Words are secondary to rhythm, timing, and subtle contrasts in behavior. Stop over-explaining. Stop justifying your value. Stop asking permission to exist in her world. Speak with intent, pause with authority, and create emotional tension that makes her lean forward mentally. A well-timed comment, a playful challenge, or a subtle tease can do far more than hours of conversation or incessant texting. Women respond to energy, unpredictability, and emotional impact, not the quantity of attention you give. Equally important is your ability to create a hierarchy of attention. Women are wired to respond to men who naturally command attention from the environment. When you are admired by others, respected by peers, and secure in social spaces, she sees it instinctively. You don't need to brag or perform, it's the silent signal of status and value. Most men ignore this principle entirely, thinking their personality alone can override perception. It cannot. Perception is invisible but omnipotent in attraction. Then comes emotional calibration. Being emotionally available, but selectively, is what separates men who are ignored from men who are desired. Controlled vulnerability, paired with unwavering presence, triggers a subconscious pull. She doesn't want your problems, she wants your essence. She wants a man who can absorb her energy, reflect it, and create tension that feels thrilling, safe, and irresistible. Too much too soon kills desire. Too little makes her lose interest. Mastering this balance is the invisible currency of attraction. Finally, understand timing and scarcity. Desire thrives on rhythm, absence, and unpredictability. The more a man is immediately available, the faster he becomes invisible. When you create a life that is full, magnetic, and independent of her attention, she subconsciously notices your value. This is why men who ignore conventional advice, yet radiate presence, become impossible to resist. So pause and ask yourself, are you existing in effort or are you existing in presence? Are you predictable or are you magnetic? Are you giving her reasons to ignore you or reasons to think about you when you're not there? This is the invisible equation that separates 90% of men from the small percentage she truly notices. It starts inside, and it manifests in every interaction, glance, and moment of silence. Now we reach the part most men will never understand, the invisible levers that make her chase you, rather than the other way around. Most men live in the illusion that attraction is earned through effort. It isn't. Effort is forgotten. Attention is fleeting. Desire is created, not given. And the men who understand this are the ones who stop being ignored almost instantly. Let's start with intrigue. Women respond to curiosity, unpredictability, and contrast. If every interaction is predictable, she loses interest. If every conversation feels like an interview, she stops leaning in. To spark desire, you must cultivate an air of mystery. Subtle contradictions in words and actions, glimpses of passion and purpose without revealing every detail. She should feel like she's glimpsing a world she wants to explore, and that world exists entirely within you. Most men fail because they reveal too much too soon, leaving nothing for her to discover. Next is emotional oscillation. Desire is fueled by tension, the push and pull between closeness and distance, attention and scarcity. When a man is constantly available, constantly validating, she subconsciously loses interest. When a man is selectively attentive, confident, and emotionally stable, she feels compelled to invest energy into engaging him. Controlled oscillation isn't manipulation, it's mastery of emotional flow. It's a rhythm that triggers her subconscious need to chase without realizing she's doing it. Status perception is another invisible driver. Women are wired to notice men who are respected, admired, or valued in their environment. It's not about money or fame, it's about energy, authority, and confidence. When you command respect in your life through your purpose, your discipline, and your interactions, she picks up on it subconsciously. You don't announce it, you live it. That quiet magnetism is impossible to ignore. Most men overlook this entirely and wonder why she doesn't respond to effort alone. Then comes the art of selective vulnerability, revealing glimpses of your emotional depth without overexposing yourself creates a subtle but irresistible pull. It's not about sharing your life story, it's about signaling that you are complex, self-aware, and capable of intimacy. Too much vulnerability too soon extinguishes desire. Too little makes you appear shallow. The balance is what turns her curiosity into obsession. She begins to wonder what else exists beneath the surface, and the pull becomes magnetic. Finally, purpose-driven presence is non-negotiable. Women are subconsciously drawn to men who are fully engaged in their own lives, who move with intent and direction. When your focus is on growth, challenge, and contribution, not on chasing her, you become a natural priority. The irony is this: the more you focus on your own trajectory, the more she notices. Effort fades into background noise. Presence becomes dominant. Attraction is no longer a gamble. It becomes a consequence of your internal alignment. Ask yourself now, are you creating mystery or predictability? Are you eliciting desire or providing comfort too soon? Are you commanding attention through presence or begging for it through effort? This is the invisible matrix that 90% of men never understand and why they remain invisible. The truth is uncomfortable, but reality doesn't negotiate. If you want her attention, desire, and even subtle obsession, you must play the game she is wired to respond to, and it begins inside you before a word is spoken or a glance exchanged. Now it all comes together. The invisible rules, the subconscious triggers, the magnetic presence, they are not secrets to be whispered lightly. They are principles you live by, internalize, and execute without effort, because they flow naturally from a man who knows himself. This is how the 10% of men who are noticed and not ignored operate. They understand that attraction is a psychological experience, not a transaction. They know that desire is earned through presence, energy, and emotional mastery, not persistence or pleading. Start with alignment. Your actions, your energy, and your internal state must be in sync. When your purpose, your confidence, and your emotional depth align, you radiate an unspoken authority. Women notice it instantly, even if they can't articulate why. This is why so many men are invisible. They are fragmented. Their words say one thing, their energy says another. Your energy must always speak louder than your words. The invisible signals you send dictate whether she feels compelled to pay attention or simply scroll past. Next, cultivate controlled unpredictability. Predictable men are ignored. Unpredictable men are remembered. This doesn't mean being reckless or arrogant. It means creating subtle contrast in your behavior, challenging her gently, teasing her mentally, and keeping her wondering what comes next. The tension between calm authority and slight unpredictability sparks intrigue, the core of attraction. Without it, you are just another face in the crowd. With it, you become unforgettable. Emotional calibration is equally crucial. Too much vulnerability too soon destroys desire. Too little depth creates shallow connection. The magnetic man reveals glimpses of his inner world at the right moments, allowing curiosity to build while maintaining presence and authority. He makes her feel seen, challenged, and intrigued simultaneously. This creates an invisible pull that drives her attention and investment without a single desperate plea. Finally, live in scarcity and purpose. Women subconsciously respond to men whose lives are full, exciting, and independent. When you chase her or give her constant access, you devalue your presence. When you live for your goals, your growth, and your ambitions, she becomes drawn to you naturally. Absence creates interest, presence creates desire. This is the invisible equation that flips 90% of men from ignored to irresistible. Now I want you to reflect, because this is where transformation starts. Ask yourself, are you living in alignment or chasing validation? Are you predictable or magnetic? Are you emotionally calibrated or desperate? Are you present in your own life or focused solely on being noticed? Your answer determines whether you remain invisible or become a man she can't stop thinking about. Here's a personal equation for you. Take the number of times you've been ignored, subtract the moments you've acted with confidence, then multiply by the effort you give without emotional impact. That is your current attraction score. Post your answer in the comments. I want to see where you are, because the truth is confronting but necessary. If this video opened your eyes, hit the like button, subscribe for more psychological insights, and share this with a friend who needs to hear it. Change your mindset, shift your energy, become the man she notices and stops ignoring.